It's a collaborative pixel art project. Um, yeah, quite amazing. So anyone who has a brush NFT can contribute to a daily changing topic, and we collaborate to create great pixel art together. And depending on the count of pixels you have in your brush, you then earn some money if when it's sold. So, and the cycles repeats every day. Yeah, it's quite amazing. Um, yeah, it's a good question. I think it's important because in the whole Web3 world, I mean, there's so many projects that started and were quite promising, and in the end, I mean, even recently, all the exchanges for art are closing down one after the other, um, and of course, Basepaint wasn't like it's not like it started in 2020 or 21 when all the hype started, but it started a bit later, but it's still around today and it still has daily collectors, and this is quite amazing, I think. And part of the success of this, I think, is because of the community that has built. And yeah, so I think the importance here is that this is a project that isn't just some kind of hype, pump and dump thing, but it's actually something many people care about. And this is also the reason why it's still alive today, I think. And because, yeah, there are so many people caring about daily, um, it won't die, hopefully. So or to put it another way, the only way Basepaint could die is if the community dies completely. So if all the painters would say, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not dependent on some, I mean, it's kind of dependent maybe. So let's say if at one point in time no Basepaint canvas would be collected anymore, then it would be hard to keep this alive, probably. But um, yeah, but it's kind of a decentralized thing, or the success is kind of based in a decentralized manner, because there are so many people caring about this, and all of them are holding this together. It's not like there's one boss or something that says, "Oh, you all have to do this." Everyone contributing is contributing because they care about great pixel art, and this is maybe that's also part of it. The the love for pixel art is the first thing, and of course we all like to earn a bit money with it, but yeah, the pixel art is the main character. Yeah, well, it started actually with the NFT hype a bit. I mean, I was always a creative person, and I studied communications design, but I hardly worked as a designer. I quickly switched to be a developer because I happen to like coding. Not many people do like this, but yeah. But I'm a let's say this is why my art I do outside of base paint is most of it is based on code. So I'm a creative coder, maybe. Um, yeah, and so that's what my job is. I'm writing code all day. So this is kind of it's a nice compensation for the 9 to 5 job is making art. Um, but it started. I mean, I got into crypto with all the ICOs back then. Um, um, with all the coin stuff, and of course the goal back then was to make money fast. I failed at that, so spoiler. But uh, um, but still, I got into Web3 this way, and I remember when NFT started, I didn't get it at first at all. So I had a chance, for example, to buy CryptoPunks very cheap, but I didn't get it. So I didn't buy one at any point in time. So, and a similar thing happened with apes, for example. Yeah, so I never get rich. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's better this way because still I interacted with a lot of NFT projects, of course, later on, and the taxes I had to pay were not too not too few. So I don't know what would have happened if I made if I would have made a lot of money. Maybe that would have bankrupted me in the end. I don't know, but I remember when first. So yeah, I didn't really see a use case for example, for CryptoPunks. Although I liked how they looked, of course, because they're pixel art. But then I started to look for games, and there was I don't know if this website still exists, but there was some kind of website listing Web3 games, and I remember playing a game. I think it's the name was Xerox Universe. It was quite simple. You were shooting rockets and finding planets, and the planets were NFTs. And I think this were even before the ERC 721 standard was existed. So these were ERC 20 coins, the planets. And I remember that I was very angry when CryptoKitties started to get a hype because they congested the whole blockchain, and I wasn't able to play the game anymore or it was very expensive to play the game. Yeah, but then I started to look for other projects, and interestingly, one project listed on this game site was Pixel Chain. I don't know if you heard of that one. Pixel Chain, yes. It's on layer 1, also the original ETH blockchain. And yeah, it saves the pixel. It started with I think it was 24 times 24 pixel. I'm not sure if it's worth it if it was 16 times 16 or 25 times 25. So a really small canvas, and you could paint it directly in the browser and then mint it, and it was on chain. So, and that's where I started with pixel art actually. I made a series of small guys named tape dudes, so small cassette heads with arms and legs. I think a few of them are still for sale, actually, but I never changed the prices, so they're quite expensive now. Yeah, this is the main difference to Basepaint. It's not collaborative, so anyone can just paint some pixels and mint them. Yeah, but the concept is just doing it in a browser and minting directly from there. I mean, okay, Basepaint, you don't actively mint the canvas. Like, it's not like the artists have to say, okay, now we mint this. This happens automatically, of course. But yeah, with Pixel Chain, you as the artist were deciding when to mint, and then you could sell it. And this, yeah, it was kind of hyped at that moment, or hyped as and anything was hyped at that moment, but it was very easy to sell these things because and yeah, this kind of hooked me and sparked my interest to create pixel art. I mean, I always liked pixel art before that, and of the generation of the first computer games. Um, so there's some nostalgia in there, certainly. But yeah, this is kind of how I started to create art. Yeah, basically yes. Yeah, I mean, of course, it would be cool if I could do more art. Um, this is kind of still a dream of mine, so that I could make a little bit more money off the art. But yeah, it's with just a little time at my hand. So I have to look. I mean, I have a family and everything, so it's not that I have a ton of free time. So I have to I have to choose what I'm doing in the evening, and yeah, and this is also kind of a thing. It's kind of a problem with base paint for me. So I either have to decide: am I doing base paint today, or am I doing my other art stuff? So it's always because both would take the whole evening for me, and yeah, it's always a tough decision for me to make. But right now, I'm more doing my uh, personal art stuff and working on a project. Maybe I'm going live with it next week. Let's see. I don't know. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, I'm working on something. So that's why I'm absent at the moment on base paint. But yeah, I always have to pick what am I doing, base paint or something else. No, it's pixel art, but I created a sprite system, so I'm creating small sprites, and I have developed a yeah kind of a code. So every sprite has a code on the left side, um, similar to a QR code system maybe, but simpler. Um, and the my algorithm I wrote for this just uses this code and knows, for example, is this an animation, or on which layer will this be displayed, and so on. How fast is the animation, or is it not an animation at all? Is it just a random pick? All these things are encoded in the sprites. And yeah, then I have an algorithm that sorts all these sprites in the right place and create some random landscapes, or I can do many things with it, but it's mostly landscapes, like small top view landscapes. Yeah, and so I create generative pixel art, if you want to call it that, yeah. But not in the way. I mean, this is kind of a problem with the NFT hype back then. I think a lot of projects were called generative art, but all they meant was when you mint, the character or whatever you're minting is created on the fly randomly. My understanding for generative art is a bit different, so it involves a little bit more, and generative art existed before NFTs, of course. Um, that's actually also why I got interested in coding in the first place, because when I was studying, we were introduced to generative art. And that was also the first time I started coding. And yeah, it's kind of connected. So the art or the creative part and I mean, coding is creative, I would say, in general. But yeah, not many people would say coders are artists, but or would see it as something creative. But it is creative in the end. But yeah, this generative art brought me to coding. And yeah, now I'm combining it. And I mean, I have a few collectors, but yeah, I couldn't live off it. Yeah, I was studying design, and one course was generative art. Um, uh, it was a teacher who taught us processing. Um, I don't know if you heard of that. Maybe P5.js would be the popular version of that. But back then it was called processing, and it was what it still is based on Java. So yeah, and he was teaching us some concepts about you can use it in a design environment for creating I don't know, infographics or whatever, visualizing data. And I think this was kind of the intent as part of the studies. But yeah, it was so, yeah, it was just fun. So I mean, it was the great thing about processing is you have a small tool where you write the code in it, and then you have a play button. So you can just write some code, press play, and you see the result instantly. And then you can add something else and press play again, and you see the changes. And this loop is very, yeah, it's great for learning coding, I would say, because you have this instant feedback, and it's visual. The feedback is visual. And yeah, this somehow it resonated with me, and that made me start. That started my interest in coding. At first, I wasn't working as a developer. I, of course, as I had then a bachelor in design, I started as a designer. But my first employee, yeah, design wasn't the only thing that had to be done there. This was a small agency, and I started to look left and right and got into web developing and stuff like that. So, and of course, I realized I could. It was at a time when anyone who, I don't know, used Photoshop once called themselves a designer, kind of. So there was a time in the market when there were way too many designers. So it was already hard to get a job anyway. And I saw, okay, this development thing, not everyone wants to do this, or not everyone likes it, but I like it. So it was kind of a natural switch to that. And it was not like, okay, now I'm doing this. It was more like a gradual development. So I started to do both, and then I started to do more and to do it more. And at some point, I said, okay, I'm doing the development stuff only because the design part was kind of distracting them. So I had to focus just, yeah. What is pixel art? Yeah, it's low resolution digital art, maybe. You could call it like that. But of course, yeah, it was born out of um, the lack of being able to display high resolution images on the computer. And today it's a style because no one needs to do pixel art anymore. We can all do everything in, I don't know, super high definition. But yeah, it's a phenomenon. Maybe yeah, it's based on nostalgia because that's a funny thing. I mean, my kids play Minecraft, of course, and it's all pixelated, and they love it. So and they didn't grow up with pixelated graphics. So there, it's, I don't know what it is, but there's something to it that is, yeah, what is it? I don't know. It feels kind of good. I don't know why, but pixel art. I mean, for me, of course, it always reminds me of old games and the games I grew up with. But there's some kind of weird, cozy feeling to it. Even in, I would say, even in dark pixel art, so in dark topics, there's something, yeah, I don't know what it is. I can't tell. But it's a certain feeling that is it's just there that other stuff doesn't have. And it might be, yeah, might be nostalgia for me, but yeah, I'm wondering why my kids like it so much. Because I never yeah, how do you say, um, my influence is not that big in that part for them, so I never forced them to look at pixel art, so to say. But it's kind of natural. I don't know what it is, but there's something to it. Yeah, but I always liked it, even before I started to make pixel art. But I remember I also had a phase where I was playing around with vector graphics um, long before NFTs and all that, like when I was studying. Um, and I wouldn't do any pixel art back then. Yeah, kind of interesting. I don't know um, what exactly started it, but I always liked it. And I mean, for example, Command and Conquer was a game I played a lot, or Lemmings even. So all these tiny, small um, pixel art graphics. Yeah, I kind of like it. Yeah, because yeah, for example, I've never played Minecraft until recently because my kids wanted to play with me, and yeah, they always said, yeah, you have to play it. I mean, you love pixel art, you would love it, and of course, yeah. I started, as I said, started with Pixel Chain and minted my first NFT there, and then I started to yeah, think about how can I, as I told, I like generative art and I like coding. So how can I combine these two things? And I even minted some. So the idea of sprite-based generative pixel art, I had that quite early, and I even minted some sprites on Pixel Chain and created some NFTs out of it. It was I call it Pixel Chips. I can send you the link later. Um, so I wrote a code. This was still with processing, where I was also using a sprite, and the code formed some kind of spaceship-like vessels. They were floating around in space. So that was the first generative pixel art thing I did. And another one was like tall skyscrapers with like cyberpunk, like um, yeah, cityscapes. Um, I did those before, and it was quite a tragedy with the. I mean, they are already they are still on sale. These these skyscrapers, um, because I was working on them for I don't know many months. So most of the time was rendering, often overnight. I was rendering tons of frames, and to a point where my hard drive was completely full. So, and I was almost done with this and was close to minting, and then my whole system crashed because I stuffed my hard drive with images. And so I lost all the code for these for this stuff, and also all the, at least that's what I thought, all the finished works that I wanted to mint. And it was last year, I think, where I found them on a randomly on an external hard drive. So I was at some point I must have thought, okay, maybe you save this, and I was still doing refinings. Um, yeah, I found them last year again, and then I minted them finally. Um, of course, the whole hype. I mean, maybe they would have sold much better back then when I wanted to do them originally, but yeah, they're still minted. That's the important part. Um, yeah, that was kind of tragic. And I was really down at that point because, as I said, I spent months creating these and then I couldn't release them. And I think I don't know, maybe stopped doing art for 6 months or so at all because it really, it was a kind of a crash for me. Um, is what was kind of depressing. So, but then it was also easy to be distracted with all the NFT, PFP projects hyping, and yeah, I was flipping some of them at that time. So I kind of ditched art at that point and tried to be, yeah, NFT flipper, but I wasn't too successful with that. But I had a lot of fun anyway. Yeah. And I've made a few friends, of course. And in that time, I also got into the German crypto group on Twitter, in the group chat, and that's where also Numo was in there too. Yeah, and it wasn't just we were talking about anything Web3 in there. It wasn't just art related. But of course, everyone who created something posted their stuff in there, and we supported each other and so on. But yeah, and at one point, Numo shared a link about pixel art, about Basepaint, and that. And I'm thinking, I think I started to do to do pixel art again at that point. Yeah, I think so. So I was kind of over the big loss, but yeah, and I saw this and I said, "Hey, cool, can I join too?" And I think he introduced me to Zach at that point, and he gave me a 500 pixel brush. Yeah, from that day on, I painted a base paint more or less every day, but yeah, with a few breaks in between. But yeah, it was super fun. I mean, it was very crowded on the canvas. I mean, it was literally several hundred people, I think, painting there. It was very chaotic, but super fun because the the great thing about this about Basepaint, and I think that was a great decision to build this in from the start, was the chat. Basepaint had this collaborative thing built in from the start. So with the chat, you could coordinate stuff and say, yeah, let's do this here or let's do this and whatever. Um, of course, it was still very chaotic in the first days, but I kind of like these old chaotic uh, pieces. But of course, it's amazing if you look at the first canvases and the canvas today. The quality is stunning. So so the and I have to say, for me, painting on Basepaint every day made me a way better pixel artist than I was when I started with Basepaint. So just the daily grind, putting pixels on there, and the another great thing was you had to be collaborative and you had to do good stuff um, that made the canvas better in order to get more pixels. Oh, everyone wants to get more pixels, of course, because more pixels mean more share of the revenue. Um, So yeah, this that's a great thing, I think, about Basepaint, to have this incentive built in right from the start. It's crucial, I would say, the community, and it's a very. I mean, of course, there are ups and downs, as everywhere in life, but it's a very welcoming community, and this is kind of. I remember when I first started to get into NFTs in general as an artist. Um, it was a very warm, welcoming vibe that, of course, shifted later to this more degen uh, thing that can be very toxic. But and Basepaint kind of reminded me of that again, because everyone was very kind and welcoming and helping and explaining in the chat, here you have to do this in order to do that or whatever. And also the community is very important for fighting the so-called pixel dumpers, like just people that just spread their pixels no matter where and don't even care about the pixel art, but because they know the pixel count counts in the end for their share. Um, and of course, there were a lot of brushes handling it that way in the beginning. And then there were always the dedicated people who said, okay, this is extremely annoying, and we're cleaning up afterwards. I mean, these pixel dumpers, in a way, they gave other people the opportunity to use their pixels in a better way and also profit from that. So you never have to. This is kind of cool. If you clean up stuff someone else messes up, you always get rewarded in the end for it. But yeah, this whole thing about really annoying contributors, this is something you can't program away or decentralize or automate or whatever, how you want to call it. So this is not solvable technically on a programmatic level. So you need some kind of a community that really cares about the project and cares about the outcome of the canvas in the end, to maintain this or to curate this and to filter out who is actually contributing good stuff and who is just a pixel number who just doesn't care. So the community is a core feature of this project, I would say. Yeah, it definitely has a family vibe, and everyone is happy if you show up again. For example, if you haven't been around for a month or so and you show up again, everyone is very welcome back, and it's really cool. It's definitely a family vibe. I can't tell too much about the. Or let's put it this way: I'm not the one that spends hours in the chat, because, as I said before, my time is a bit limited. So I have to, if I choose to paint on Basepaint, then I'm mainly focused on painting. And of course, I watch the chat when I do that. But yeah, I'm not the. I mean, of course, there are days where I chat a lot, but I would say I'm painting more than I'm chatting in the chat, and of course, but of course I'm coordinating and all that stuff. So, but I can't tell too much about yeah, as you said before, some mental health or just people coming there for connecting. Of course, I see that this happens, but yeah, I'm not that a big part of that. But it's a very interesting question. Of course, I like to believe because it's great pixel art, and of course that's a part of it. But if you look at the collector base right now, I think it's roughly about between, I don't know, 70 and 100 people collecting every day, which is quite, yeah, it sounds like just a few, but I think it's amazing for a project like this to have these core collectors every day. I mean, it's a lot of money in the end still, if you collect it every day. But yeah, why? I think that's a good question. I mean, I know that many of the gold brushes, it's like I do this too. If I'm contributing on a canvas, I also collect it myself, of course. Um, and yeah, it's a good question. I would love to be able to see into the collectors' minds. I mean, this is true in general for anything. Why? Uh, if you just put some art out there and you see someone else's art gets collected, but yours doesn't get collected, it can be a ton of reasons, but you will never know the correct answer to that. But I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't have the numbers for this. I don't know how many of the contributing artists are part of these daily collectors. I think there are quite a few. So it's kind of a earning and giving back cycle. If you're a gold brush, you have, I think, at least 5,000 or 4,000 pixels. I don't know where the um, uh, how do you say, the threshold is for that. But so that means you get quite a lot of the sales back. So it's, for me, it's a no-brainer to then, if I know I have this amount of ETH, I earned that from the last canvas, so I'm putting part of that into the next canvas. So everyone who contributed gets something back from it. So that's a part of it, I think, so that you have this kind of earning and giving back cycle. But yeah, I also like to believe that there are many who just love this project because it's great pixel art and because it's not just one artist doing it, but it's created collaboratively. Many of the contributors would or are doing great or could do great just as a solo pixel artist. Um, yeah, but and maybe that's part of it too, because I mean there's quite a few names in there like Bombardier or Manitle. They are doing quite well just as a solo artist, but yeah, but still contributing every day. This is great, I think. I mean, I'm hoping that Basepaint will be around for a very long time. I mean, we are approaching 1,000 days, which is crazy in itself. I know Zach once said they never expected to last this project this long. I think they thought it was maybe a month, and then no one would care anymore. But yeah, it's, I think as they created this platform to build a community right on the spot where the art is created, um, led to this long day, yeah, years of success. I think it's still successful, even though, of course, the sales are down if you compare it to the first canvases. But everything is down on the other hand. So um, so I think it's very remarkable that this is still around and there are still so many collectors every day collecting this. This is quite unique, I think. And I would, of course, love to see this 1,000 years from now still, or even longer than that. But yeah, we will see. I think this might be the greatest challenge. Oh yeah, we will see. I mean, if no one is collecting anymore, then this would be hard to maintain, I think. But maybe I'm wrong. Because if you know this is a group of friends and they like to just hang out and do pixel art alongside hanging out, maybe then this is enough. I don't know. And it doesn't matter if no one collects. I'm not sure. But of course, I would love to see this grow again. So collectors going up. But I am not sure if this is going to happen if yeah, before the whole world changes. I mean, we have quite difficult times right now, all over the world, I'd say. And to get a hype like back then, maybe it happens at some point again, but I'm not sure if this will ever happen again in that way. But we need a better market either way. So people need, of course, need to have money left to collect art. This is always the case. And even though Web3 is enabling the everyday people to collect art, you don't have to go to a gallery or something to collect art. You can just do it in the browser. This is quite cool, I think. But yeah, of course, you need to have the money left for it. If you need it for other stuff, then it's hard to collect just for fun. And this is a situation, I think this has to change, but this is nothing that Basepaint can influence. So this is a thing, I don't know, a global thing, I guess. But yeah, I would love to see this community to still exist in 1,000 days from now. I don't know. This would be awesome, or even forever. I don't know. No, of course they can do it. Why not? No one is. Yeah, they're a bit too young to play around like in the Web3 space, I think. But yeah, at some point, yeah, in the future, why not? They should do it. I mean, they like to draw and stuff like that. But yeah, we will see. Maybe I'm passing the brush one day. I don't know if that's. I don't know if that's possible technically. I think there was something. Yeah, I think brushes that get transferred are being flagged. I'm not sure because we don't. Yeah, this is Zach. What Zach said. This is the one mistake they made, that the brushes are tradable, because it led to people minting brushes and then selling them again. And yeah, I think this has. I mean, there have been changes have been made to that. I think now every new brush you're minting is has a decreasing pixel amount. I think every day 1 pixel less, and you have to prove in that time you have to just prove that you're a true contributor to get an upgrade, so you don't keep your pixels. Yeah, I think that was one way to prevent this. Yeah, brush farming. Let's call it that. Yeah. And for the future of Basepaint, one more thing, maybe, yeah, I think it's also important to, of course, onboard new artists to it. But yeah, it's kind of, I think it's in general a rough time to do this. Of course, there are people that I think would love to do this, but especially if you have to live off your art and you have to put quite some time into Basepaint, and I mean, it also helped me. I think in 2023 was it? I was painting quite a lot, and from that money I made by painting, I think I paid for when we had some challenging times. So um, I paid quite some bills with the Basepaint money. Um, and of course, this is something depending where you're from. Um, the money I made would mean something very different to someone else, where it's, I don't know, would be worth double or 4 times the amount that it was worth for me. So yeah, this is a great thing about Basepaint, I think. So I believe some people can really make a living from it, or a substantial amount of their living at least. And this is also something very extraordinary, I think, because it's still possible today, even though it's not uh, that a large amount of money as, let's say, 1 year ago. But yeah, it's remarkable, I think. And I really hope that Basepaint will one day grow again. Maybe also get more collectors. But yeah, we talk about that from time to time in the group chat. But yeah, it's hard to get a solution for this if the market in general is very bad.